Hello everyone. Before I begin, I just wanted to say this is not my story. A brother requested me to talk it about on YouTube and Facebook. Note that this is not meant to attack any religions, nor any race, or any gender. I'm just here to explain what happened. Anyways, let's begin. Hi, my name is David Chan. I was 25 when all these bizarre events happened. Looking back, how I wished it was all a dream, but in reality it became my living nightmare, which still haunts me to this day. It came to me in an unexpected and at an alarming speed. Well, it started one morning, beginning of September. Beginning of the day of my typical mornings, I won't go into details of my daily routine, but after finishing breakfast, I jumped onto my computer for work. Out of the blue, I get a phone call from my friend Josh. At my very best, I multitask typing while speaking with him. He was excited about going to his very first date with a girl named Carrie. And the whole week, he wouldn't stop talking about it. I gave him the very best advice any man would, was to enjoy it. After an hour, I ended the conversation and got back to work. Skip to a week later where things started to happen. One day he explained to me on what's been going on. First of all, she was a Mormon. Second, when she kept texting Josh about excuses. I give you an example. Things would come up when he wanted to see her again. Another one would be the sudden disappearance, leaving the question he asked unanswered. So he had to create a new text on the very next day. There was more, but I stopped him in the middle of him explaining. I guess I heard enough and told him man to man. He needed to decide what he wanted in his life. A person who's uninterested in him and which he needs to leave. Or he could keep going and continue to be disappointed, meeting a dead end. He refused to give up and continued on trying his very best to have her as his girlfriend. I respected his wishes and backed off. Months went by as he continued to spend time with her. Events and date after dates have gone by. He felt that 6 months was long enough, so he decided to confess his feelings to her in public. He wanted her as his girlfriend, holding her hands and staring at her eyes. She hesitated for a moment and told him that she needed more time to think. So he backed off, about a couple days without texting or nor contacting her. But during the meantime, he remembered her birthday was coming up and planned her presents despite him being sick. Well, it was a week before her birthday. When the big day arrived, he hitched a ride with her to a concert. Just before they headed in the building where they were going to perform, she parked and had a conversation with him while she opened the birthday gifts. She looked at them like it was made from a nuclear bomb. No, not the fear type. I'm talking about like a scoffing, "Are you effing kidding me?" reaction. So she decided to drop a bomb on him. Let me explain how. She spoke in an arrogant tone. You know, the times we spent together meant absolutely nothing to me. I still want to be who I am, a strong, young, independent white Mormon. I'm not looking for a relationship with anyone, especially one such as yourself. Between me and you are nothing more than just a friend. The times you spent your cash on me, I didn't ask you, since I have my own. Yet I didn't need your charity. Now, before we go and perform, I just wanted to say to you that after this, I don't want any more of this lovey-dovey stuff from you. I mean, even if we were to hang out after this day, we can still hang out, but just as friends. So get this through your message to your thick, dumb skull of yours. End quote. He was sick, where not only couldn't he speak, he also could not defend himself verbally. They got out of the car and went to perform. The whole time he had mixed feelings and was devastated, even ending up messing up during his piano solo, which nearly got him fired. After the performance, he walked out. I woke up in early morning around 2 a.m., feeling something was wrong, and drove nearby the music hall. The rain was really coming down as I drove by. I saw Josh walking by the side of the street. I pulled over and tried speaking to him. It freaked me out as I never saw him so broken before. I even got out of the car to talk to him. He went on a temper tantrum rage, crying and pushing me away. I did what any man would do. I wrestled with him to calm him down, but failed until I put him in a locked position. Because, dude, we were in the middle of the road while it's raining. Now that was dangerous. It took me an hour and I had no choice but to knock him out cold. The cops even showed up and asked what happened. I gave him a false story saying he was drunk, and I tried getting him back to the car after he jumped out. The police bought the story and we went our separate ways as I took Josh to my house. The next morning when he woke up, I confronted him on what happened. Still sick with a sore throat, he went on my desk and wrote everything down. When he finished, he handed it to me. I read it, and when I'd finished reading the papers, I was pissed. I gave him the lecture of his life, and if I told you so, she was a real female, she would have respectfully told you off on day one. Also, the fight could have gotten us both killed. What the hell is wrong with you? Afterwards, he was a mess, devastated, and cried for hours. I left him alone, even tried hiding any items considered a weapon. He stayed for a few days and made a full recovery on his fever before I sent him home. He saw her again at work, but it was the most awkward silent treatment of any experiences he had. But she had no remorse, nor any regret. As weeks went on, I thought things would get better through time. I'd never been so wrong. After an early night, I decided to fetch a late takeout dinner at Denny's. When the waitress asked me, was there anything else, I wanted to order. Then I thought about Josh and ordered his favorite meal. After getting all the food, I decided to call him. When he picked up, he was coughing, and I could hear something like loud fans going at it. "Dude, are you okay?" I asked. He kept coughing and tried saying help. Then he spoke his last words to me saying, Carrie. Then the line cut off. I rushed to his house going 80 miles an hour. When I got there, not only the scene horrified me, his house was covered in flames. Everywhere at that property was covered and blocked by fire departments and police. I parked somewhere, I forgot, but across the street, I guess. I lost it. I ran, screaming and yelling, trying to run inside to save my friend. The police held me back from going in. After a moment of struggle, the remaining of the house fell to the ground. All hope was lost. I stayed there for a few hours and the police questioned me. Well, I didn't hesitate to try and sue Carrie. But even after all that trouble on court, she was off scot-free. My guess was because of the connections with her religion and her dad. It was ruled as an accident. Refused to admit defeat, I went to seek answers from my aunt. She was a wuxia, or another word is a Chinese shaman. And yes, before I asked her anything, she knew why I was there. Answered my question and said that his death had been no accident. So she did a ritual where we both went to the spirit realm. There we witnessed what truly happened. Carrie received a love note from her fellow co-workers from the concert hall. She thought it came from Josh and decided that enough was enough. So one night she called a few members from her congregation or church to help pull a stunt on him. They came to his house, since he always forgets to lock the back door. Well, of course, they snuck in. When they were in the house, they were dressed in costumes from head to toe, made their way to his bedroom and threatened him, waking him up. Their intentions were only to, I guess, scare him. One, however, lit a match in Josh's face. And Josh, as any man would, defend himself. Eventually, the match was thrown close to the window curtain. The struggle and they fought for a while ended up beating Josh up. Then, realizing the spread of the fire, scared, they all ran away. But the last one was trying to run. When Josh tripped over that person and ripped off the mask to see Carrie, she eventually escaped, leaving him. That's where I called as he tried asking for help. His left leg was broken and from the fight eventually passed away, succumbing to his wounds. However, after my aunt eventually took me back to the human realm, I lost it and cried for a while. It wasn't until the next day that had passed when I had a dream about him haunting a few individuals. That lasted about a couple weeks, until one final dream about him. He showed up chaining 3 people and told me goodbye. That he got justice, was now leaving. Leaving for his court case, I guess. I looked and realized Carrie wasn't there. So I asked, "What about Carrie?" He replied, "I wasn't allowed to take her, coming from the Mighty One. But I'll watch her as she lives on." I woke up that instant. Now let's just say the ones that were responsible died in unusual cause. All their corpses were burnt. Next, Carrie got married to some guy in her religion. But after a few years of abuse, he left her for a younger woman and withdrawing all the money from their account. Her life was never the same, now shunned from her religion and in debt. I didn't realize her till I met up with her in a cafe one day, where she was working as a waitress taking my order. Even freaked out as I saw that now she had this worn out look. She didn't recognize me since the damage has been done. I just finished my meal and moved on. Well, I hope you guys enjoy David's story. I hope I can at least share this to the world, and thanks for Fei Long and or Daniel for sharing this. Anywho, farewell. Goodbye.